Hey beautiful people, how are you? My name is Connor.
And I'm Brittany.
Today we're talking about Ilya, who is 7 months old. And we've got a lot of different questions of varying sorts that are all around, is Ilya well behaved? And so we wanted to make a video. Our membership site is growing and we want you to be a part of it.
We have over 100 videos, so many exercises, tons of ways for you to learn, grow, heal, and inspire with us.
Come on over and see what it's all about. Speaking about that.
Yes, and maybe we could start, but look, we just briefly glanced at the definition. Do you remember what it said about what well-behaved meant?
Appropriate.
And then I looked up appropriate and it says suitable or proper in the circumstances.
So of course, you know, appropriate and suitable and well-behaved, those are all kind of like a collective imagination of sorts of like what that looks like.
Yes.
And they don't really have to do with individuality, freedom, autonomy. They don't have to do with expression. They don't really have to do with passion. I mean, gosh, there's so many things that are left out of that equation.
If I tap into how it feels, like none of those are fun words to think about. They don't like ignite this life within me. Like, I want to be well behaved. I want to be appropriate.
Can you imagine? Yeah, and the thing is, like, many of us have this idea that we have to help little ones be a certain way in order to fit in. And that is blocking progression. Like, this is why we have children. It's so that we can evolve as a species and has like, so the universe can keep expanding. It's not to fit them into a box of what was and yeah, I mean, appropriate, like that's a very weird word.
Yes, I totally agree. And I feel like it all has this underlying idea, which is that they're not perfect just as they are. And I really believe that we are all perfect just as we are.
Absolutely.
And I think we come into this world so tapped in to who we are. And I think a lot of what I've been doing and maybe what we share around is how to get back to our innate wisdom, our true selves, our soul's purpose for being here. And Ilya is so connected and tapped in. Ilya, in my eyes, really is perfect. And so if they're expressing something that maybe in our culture comes up as like not good behavior, which might be like if they're using their voice,
yeah,
you know, or if they're, it's interesting. I feel as though Ilya is expressing something right now. Ilya is telling us how they're feeling in some way, or maybe Ilya's curious about the world and they're wanting to go over. Right now, Ilya's so curious about the lights and they're kind of like pulling at these little twinkle lights we have around. And I was thinking this morning, I could otherwise, like at another time in my life, feel like, oh, this is frustrating. Instead, I felt like, this makes so much sense. Like, wow, these lights, this is incredible. Ilya's getting to know our human world. And I feel that we're here to guide them in how to do that. And they're here to teach us about what it means to be connected to our soul. And it's such a direct connection. And I feel like what they really need from me is support and understanding. And I feel like it's my joy to tap into what they're telling me and to always have this knowledge that they are perfect. They don't need to be different. And any expression that's coming through them is authentic and it's not manipulative. It's not, and even if it were, that would be some other form of like authenticity in this way of, yeah, like really, I think seeing humans as healthful, perfect beings and anything that's coming up as something that is trying to help the overall system. We talk about this as you've talked about internal family systems therapy and talking about parts, and that parts aren't bad. Yeah,
they're just reactions to experiences. And, you know, as we gain more data as to who we are, we can understand how we want to show up in the world. And so, you know, it might come up for people like, well, what are you just going to let Ilya run wild? And if Ilya wants to run wild, yeah, we're definitely going to do that. And we're going to encourage and support Ilya. Now, I do think that it's awesome to offer Ilya the understanding that we have that they might not have.
Yes.
Dayna Martin talked about this, and she's just a wonderful
amazing
teacher and leader around, you know, raising children without rules. I mean, that's basically what I could say about her. There's a lot more I think she would say about herself, but we'll reference something down below, maybe in the description box, and you can check her out. But she was talking about, letting kids know when you go to the grocery store, for example, hey, just to let you know, this is how other people show up in the grocery store. You don't have to do it that way. But if you want to kind of blend in or assume what's happening culturally in a grocery store, here are some tips and tricks for that. And you can communicate with children before they can use the same words back to you.
Yes.
So I think providing that opportunity for them to understand the context that you're maybe taking them to or that they're showing up in so that they can make a decision. Because I think we do want to have a certain amount of blending and a certain amount of comfortability. We want others to feel comfortable around us. We don't just want to be doing weird stuff all the time and, triggering people, but a little bit. And I think we do want to have some amount of freedom and experimentation. If I do this, what happens?
Yeah.
And that's really our natural self-learning process. And we stop that process as a society, as a culture. What we've been modeled is we stop that process and we do it with emotional coercion. We shame and we punish children. And what we do by that is remove passion, we remove their natural progression, we remove our natural progression and ability to learn from them.
Yeah.
And so, what we're talking about is really harnessing the power of these little humans so that we can all benefit from them. And it has nothing to do with this weird term, appropriate or well-behaved.
Yeah, I think we really want to guide Ilya in becoming their emotionally mature self, which I think they're already right on the path to doing. And as they age, they get more skills and tools to be able to do that, to express themselves in this world. And I think that oftentimes, I know that I was taught to, certain emotions weren't okay to express. Yeah. And I would be put in timeout if I expressed something or told stop whining. Whining's not going to get you what you want. Or you need to be more independent. You need to be more okay. In all these ways that really taught me that I couldn't trust my own internal guidance system.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, what is at the root of so many of our lack of self-worth. It was, instead of having this self-love and love for the world that I innately came into the world with, I think I was taught to look to others for approval, to look to my caregivers, which I think is natural. I think that we're supposed to be guided by our caregivers who give us unconditional love. And I think that feels so important for me in our time with Ilya.
Yes.
Is to give them that unconditional love and to encourage them, to understand them, really always understand and love them, and then offer them things along the way. And like you said about, even when they're really young, we can communicate. And Ilya loves, again, I love lighting, and we have these little salt lamps on the wall, and they really want to touch them. And I don't want to stifle their behavior, which is interesting too, because I think another way we can have well-behaved children is to encourage them. So I know that if I keep pulling Ilya away from the light, they're gonna do a bad behavior and express that they're upset. And it's because I didn't tap into what they wanted, which was to play with the light in the first place. So instead I showed Ilya, I just touched the salt lamp a few times and was like, it's hot, Ilya. Just put my hand on it and took it away. And now they do the same thing.
Yeah, they just kind of touch it like this. It's the cutest thing. And they're 7 months old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something you brought up about, the potential reaction to suppression.
Yeah.
This is really key because there's really only two ways that we're going to react. And that is by being chaotic, which often shows up as what a lot of people call temper tantrums.
Or acting out.
Getting angry, getting frustrated. That's not fun for anyone to be around. It's not fun to feel. The other one is by getting very small and by being very meek and by being very teeny. And this is associated with worthlessness. And all of us, anyone that I've ever worked with IFS therapy, myself included, has a lot of parts that are attached to feelings of worthlessness, valuelessness, feelings of unimportance. And that is directly related to how we were kind of coerced as very young children into being well-behaved.
Right.
So these reactions are not enjoyable things to be around. What we want is to be with full people, We want in all our relationships to be our fullest self, to connect with other people's fullest self and to build this beautiful dynamic relationship. Well, the best way we can do that is with a little one who hasn't had some of those stifling effects built up, because like that's what we're doing, you know, like all day is trying to work through that stuff and become fuller because we had these effects as young children.
Exactly.
And like no one did anything wrong necessarily. This is just like, we have the data, you guys, like we know this stuff. This isn't something that is new for you. This is just wisdom that needs to be said, and it needs to be said with vigor because it's so important for all of us, for all of humanity, for the world. Like this is how you stop war. This is how you create peace.
Yeah.
It's by loving and supporting children.
Yeah, and we have this wisdom and we become the average of the people we're surrounded by, and you're choosing to be surrounded by us, and it feels so powerful to up level as a species in this way by saying, this isn't working. Like it's clearly not working. Let's do it differently.
Yes, yes. Fist pound for that one. Not your face, just your fist. That was a fist pound of love.
I love you.
I love you.
I imagine some of you may have questions around like, what would you do in this scenario or that scenario? And maybe we could kind of see what you have, if you have such thoughts as those, and create some sort of a video addressing something more specifically.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, like, you know, there are grand potentials that, you know, well, what about this thing and that thing? And, you know, I mean, you know, I don't know. We just roll with it. We do the best we can. This is our philosophical approach, and it really feels good. And I think it feels really good for Ilya. Yeah, living from a place of love, from support and encouragement, and that's what we have for you too. So this is definitely, as always, it's not a you're doing it wrong thing. No, it's not at all. It's like we really trust your instincts and want to encourage you to tune into them the way you did when you were a child, the way we all did, in knowing that what feels deeply right for us is what's right for us. Beautiful. You're beautiful. I love you. I love you and your wisdom. I love you and your wisdom. I love what we're doing. I love you. I love you. I love what you're doing. We'll see you soon. Maybe we'll see you over on our membership platform soon. Yeah. Mwah.